Boas festas! Happy holidays! During this time of year, I want all the Portuguese baked goods, and one of my favorites is Bolo de Mel de Madeira. This is the classic Madeira Molasses Cake that just is filled with all of that quintessential holiday flavor and spice. The issue with the most traditional version of the recipe is that it is yeasted and it takes a few days to make, and it's just a little extra work. And don't worry, that recipe is available at the Portuguese Baking School. But here today, I am offering you a rapid, mais rápido recipe, which is easy to make in an afternoon. It all comes together in one bowl. The hardest part is just measuring out all the beautiful, rich, and flavorful ingredients. To begin this recipe, I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius, and I've taken a round 9-inch cake pan. You can also use an 8-inch cake pan, or you could use two 6-inch pans. The centimeter measurements are in the recipe. What I've done to the pan is placed a piece of parchment on the bottom, and I have greased, buttered, and floured the sides. And then in a very, very small little saucepan, I have the milk and the lemon zest. I'm going to add the baking soda and set that aside. We're going to heat it later, and it'll be one of our final add-ins. Next, in another small saucepan, I've melted together the butter and the lard. Now, if you wish not to use lard, you can just substitute more butter. But here I have butter and lard. The lard is traditional. To that, I'm going to add the molasses. What this does is just help to cool down the melted fats. Give this a quick stir, and then I'll also set this aside. In a small bowl, I'm going to place most of the dry ingredients. First is the ground almonds. This can also be called almond meal or almond flour. These are blanched almonds, but you could also use unblanched almonds. And you can grind them yourself in a food processor. To that, I'm going to add the walnuts, which I've just finely chopped. You could do this in a food processor as well, but I just did it on a cutting board so that they are just nicely finely chopped for a little bit of texture. Next is candied citron peel. This is traditional. Of course, if you don't have it or don't like it, you can leave it out. Or sometimes I've substituted candied orange peel, which is really nice. Next is the flour. Just using a bleached all-purpose flour. The bleaching helps to keep this cake very tender. Next, I have ground cinnamon, ground cloves, and finally we need some anise or anise, which is so beautiful in this recipe. It really adds to the floral quality of this cake. And don't worry if you don't like a licorice flavor, it doesn't present a really strong flavor in the cake. It's hard for me to find ground anise, so I buy the seeds and I grind them myself in a mortar and pestle. You could also do this in a spice grinder or a coffee grinder. I'm going to whisk all of that together and also set that aside. Next, I'm going to take a large bowl, and to that I'm going to place the sugar and the half of an egg. To get half of an egg, all you have to do is break one egg into a small bowl or jug and whisk it so it's well combined. Then pour out half or weigh half, which would be 25 grams. So I'm going to add this to the sugar. It's important to whisk so that the sugar doesn't sort of curdle the eggs. Once they're well combined, we're going to add the butter and molasses mixture. So since this might be a little warm still, I'm just going to whisk while I add in the mixture, just in case we just don't want to scramble any eggs. It's important not to beat this cake too much or too vigorously with the whisk. We really want it to be nice and dense, not fluffy. Next, I'm going to place this milk, lemon, and baking soda mixture onto the stove, and I'm going to heat it just until it's bubbling, and then we're going to also add this to our molasses mixture. My mixture is steaming, it had little bubbles, it's ready to add. So also stirring while we add the hot milk, lemon, and baking soda. Be sure to scrape this pan clean so you get all of that delicious lemon zest. And the sun is coming out, beautiful. Next, we're gonna add all of those dry ingredients. And it's easiest to mix these together with a spatula. That way we don't overmix. Overmixing would cause it to be a tougher cake, and we want it to be tender. Once it's perfectly mixed, then pour it into the prepared cake pan. And spreading out the mixture so it evenly coats and covers the bottom of the pan. If you're using the 9-inch pan like I am, you're going to have a more thin cake, which is traditional, called baixinho, which means very, very short. And if you do the 8-inch cake, it'll be a bit thicker. But they are meant to be on the thin side. Next, it's time to decorate, and to do that, I have some whole walnut pieces, or just whole halves, that would be. And I have some whole almonds, and traditionally they would use blanched almonds, but it's just easiest for me to use unblanched. But if you want to blanch your own, you absolutely can. And then to that, we want to make concentric circles or a design on the surface of the cake. Also, if you have whole candied citron, you can cut strips to add to the top too. That's very traditional and beautiful. So in the center, let's see, I want to start with a big walnut half. That looks like a good one. Right in the center. And then maybe in the 4 directions, and maybe doing another row. And then a row of walnuts. Be creative, have fun, or look up pictures online to see how other bakers arrange the nuts on this cake to get ideas. Baking times. For the 8 or 9-inch cake, it will take between 17 and 20 minutes. I would start checking it at 15. And for 6-inch cakes, it'll take 13 to 15. I would start checking it at the 10-minute mark. What we're looking for is a toothpick inserted into the center, comes out with a few moist crumbs still attached. We do not want to overbake this cake. While we bake, let's talk about the Portuguese baking school. So no, it's not an actual physical location where you can come and receive classes. Don't come and try to find me. But it is a virtual online school, and there already is this huge library of traditional classes from the mainland of Portugal, from the Azores, and from Madeira. All of these recipes come with a video class, a printable PDF recipe, and suggestions on special equipment or ingredients and where to find them. Each month you receive 3 new recipes, and you're invited to any special workshops and live Q&A sessions with myself. Eventually, all of these recipes in the school will become my very first probably my only cookbook, dedicated to the sweets and to the baking of Portugal. So if you've been waiting for this book, or you're just excited right now to the fact that someone's going to write a book about Portuguese sweets, this is your chance to begin to receive the book early. Join the school and start receiving those recipes. Now, if you're not sure, you're on the fence, no problema, you can join the school 2 weeks for free, yours to try. You can download the recipes, keep them, and if it's not for you, you're free to cancel at any time. My cake just came out of the oven. It took exactly 17 minutes, but I did check it at 15, and I could tell that it was still a bit soft. So my toothpick came out with just a bit of moist crumbs, and you'll notice when it's close to being done that the batter kind of raises around the nuts. So the nuts are a little more within the cake. There are a little bit of bubbles on the top. It smells so good. It is such a joy to experience this cake. So we're gonna let it cool in the pan for 5 minutes before we invert it to cool completely. It's been 5 minutes, and if you've greased and floured your cake pan well, you'll notice that the cake starts to pull away from the pan all by itself. But I'm just gonna run an offset spatula around the edges. You could also use a small paring knife. I'm gonna place another cooling rack on top. And there we have it. Your bolo de mel de Madeira, rápido. And it's best to eat this when it's fully cooled, and I find even better on its second day. It gives the cake a chance for all the flavors to really meld and for the texture to really set. As always, please enjoy. Reach out for any questions and tag your bakes on social media at Portuguese Baking. I'd love to celebrate your success and share your photos or videos with the community. And boas festas!